So how does the global banking crisis affect Indonesia and the financial market for venture capitalists and startups? To discuss this, we are joined by Pak Eddi Danusaputro, Chairman of the Association of Indonesian Venture Capital and Startups. Hello, Pak Eddi. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Audrey. Hello, everybody. Thank you again for inviting me here.
Of course. So my first question for you is, do you think there will be impacts of this global banking crisis in Indonesia?
Yes, it'll take some time, and it's maybe indirectly because it won't affect the Indonesian banking sector directly. But the reality is that the Indonesian startup ecosystem relies on not only local investors like local VCs, but also foreign venture capitalists, especially the larger valuation startups at the, let's say, north of 500 million US dollar valuation, or even at the, especially at the unicorn stage, very dependent on external or non-Indonesian investors. Now, these investors, whether they are individuals or VCs or corporations, they are looking at, and they're impacted by the increase in interest rates. So it's not necessarily the banking issues that we've seen with, Credit Suisse, Silvergate, SVB, and more of the current climate of high interest rates that are impacting investors' appetite because cost of capital becomes more expensive.
So, Pak Eddi, you also mentioned that Indonesian startups in the unicorn stages still rely on foreign investments. So, are there any Indonesian VCs or startups tied to the SVB bank or any of the banks that have collapsed? Pak Eddi.
To my knowledge, and I've spoken to several of my friends and also the members at our association, there's very limited, very few, if any, Indonesian VCs that actually do business with Silicon Valley Bank. Why? Because most of our investments are sourced regionally. So it doesn't really make sense for us to open up a banking relationship with SVB, which is a regional bank in California. Likewise, I've asked around. There are very few, if any, startups that actually have a banking relationship with SVB. It also doesn't make sense because most startups here locally, they would use local banks for their operation. Where they're paying salaries, paying vendors, so forth. Yes, everything can be done online, but it doesn't make sense for them to have their main banking relationship of a bank in America.
Right. So for the banks itself, have you seen any Indonesian banks that are in a similar position to these banks that have collapsed?
No, and the reality is, and the reason is because the regulation is different. As of now, I mean, there are Indonesian banks that claim and call themselves digital banks, and they try to serve the startup ecosystem, but in reality, not yet. Nothing to the extent of Silicon Valley Bank, which is actually a regional bank that serves the VC and the startup ecosystem in the region of California or West Coast US. We don't see a similar business model. We have yet to see a similar business model for banks in Indonesia because the regulation just isn't there. And banks here are very conservative. They can only lend to companies, including startups, if they do, that have collateral. Very different from a Silicon Valley Bank that could provide loans to startups and venture capitals, maybe with a view of a future IPO. Whereas the Indonesia market, the IPO scene is not as vibrant as in the US yet.
So, Pak Eddi, has the global banking crisis changed the sentiment for investors and startups in Indonesia, and what has been the response that you've seen so far?
Yeah, actually, we're experiencing what we call a tech winter. Winter is here, right? But this is not necessarily because of Silicon Valley Bank and the two other banks or Credit Suisse. This has already been happening since last year, or maybe the end of 2021, since the increase of interest rates. So this tech winter has been going on for 18 months, more or less, because of the high interest rates. And high interest rate means cost of capital for venture capitals become more expensive, which means we are more selective. Gone are the days where venture capitals are, aggressively investing, left and right, spray and pray. Those days are gone, right? Because the cost of capital is more expensive, we are becoming much more selective, and therefore it's impacted the startups. The startups don't receive as much funding as maybe 2 years or 1 year ago, right? So this is what we call the tech winter. And that's driven primarily because of high interest rates, not because of collapse, which happened just recently.
Right.